boy a bib. He needs his mama.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Some years back, I was rescued from the island of Thunder Rock a mere hour after I butchered my sweet savior walrus in order to live.
Can you hang on a second? So at the Keene Center, no, wait a minute, at Latches, no, wait, sorry.
Pardon?
We're jumping right in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we were talking beforehand that we have so much to cover. We should just start talking. So, would you like to start? I probably should.
They have no idea who we are.
No. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. We're jumping so far in. See, it's been a while. It's been like what, a whole week since we've done this.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Tom.
And we are
the Cinemaniacs. Okay.
So, on with the show.
You should start because you saw it.
Yes.
I wanted to.
I did. So, first up, we have the new film by Martin Campbell, director of such films as GoldenEye and Casino Royale and the Bond franchise, starring former James Bond Pierce Brosnan and Asian James Bond Jackie Chan. We have a film, Who Are You Gonna Call? When a new faction claiming to be the IRA starts setting off bombs in London and somebody's innocent daughter is killed. Well, you better hope that the person who knocks on your door looking for names and answers is not the foreigner.
4, 3, 2, 1, showtime!
Not super local, and so I am envious that you had a chance to see this.
I travel.
Yes, you do.
So I love Jackie Chan. He is one of my heroes.
Yeah.
I've
like
followed his
Pierce
career.
Brosnan.
Brosnan's great.
And the director, she's terrific.
And I'm
movies.
watching this and I'm like, could you do another Bond film with Brosnan as an old Bond and get that team back together from GoldenEye again?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. Big Chan fan, but I'm honest and I give everything a fair shot, but his last several movies have not been good because the Jackie Chan movies, he's trying to still give the image that he can do what he did when he was 23 and he's like 63 now. Right. And the way he does that is wire work and doubles and green screen and CGI and bad camera work. And the last couple of movies, his last film, Kung Fu Yoga, not a great title, was the fastest me buying something new to me selling it off at the establishment I bought it from that I've ever done. But inside of 24 hours, they had that disc back. So this is a very good movie with Jackie Chan in it. This is not a Jackie Chan movie. He is an actor.
Which is sure how they're selling it.
Yes, yeah. He is a character in this film. It is not wall-to-wall action. The action there is very well done. It is not confusing. It's not done the way I think it should be done, but it's not done the way that I hate that it's done, if that makes any sense. You can tell what's going on, and it's exciting and brutal and fast. Chan is a character in this film. The overall story is much broader than his aspect of it, and I think after I watched it, I thought, I love the guy. Happy to see him getting work. You could have cut his whole thing out of this movie, and it still would function very well as a political action thriller. The basic story is that somebody claiming to be the new IRA is setting off bombs around London and in England, and who is doing this, and can we stop them before they do it again? Chan's daughter is caught in one of these explosions, and he just wants to find out. He's just like, I just want the names of the guys who did this. And they're like, we're not sure. And he's like, I'm going to try to persuade you that you should give me those names. And it gets really cool. I saw it with a packed audience who was really into it. It's a little under 2 hours, and it moves along nicely, very well shot. I would say it's one worth checking out if you're a fan of Chan or if you like Martin Campbell's other work, because this is up there with, I wouldn't say this is up there with GoldenEye and Casino Royale, but it's up there with a movie that is well shot, that moves right along, and is not horrifically put together action-wise.
Well, speaking of potential horror, then a rather unpleasant young woman is forced to relive a day in her life. It happens to be kind of the last day, but as she moves along, she has to try to figure out who is it that's trying to end her life, and what might she be able to do. We all hope that she has a happy death day.
No Showtime treat to equal the crisp, delicious flavor of hot popcorn that's bathed in real melted butter.
So, strangely enough, there was a guy sitting not immediately next to me. That's usually where Walter sits, but a couple of seats away from me who looked an awful lot like you.
It's a rare occasion where we're both seeing a film at the same time.
At the exact same time.
And I'm like, well, we should sit next to each other. This is like, that never happens.
Right.
So, yeah, we were there at the same time, and that was fun.
Yep. Not looking forward to this. I went in saying, oh, here's another one.
I'm like, oh, it's Groundhog Day, but it's horror.
Right. Maybe there'll be some fun little twists. But I was really surprised at this. I thought this was loads of fun. Now, I didn't think it was scary.
See, I thought the suspense was very effective.
I thought
at
it was
the beginning of the
suspenseful,
film.
a little different than that. So there's not stuff jumping out at you and things, but there were moments that were really quite suspenseful. I thought the two leads, the girl and her boyfriend, were really solid. I thought performances overall were really good. And Happy Death Day surprised me a lot at being pretty darn clever and pretty fun.
There's like nobody recognizable in this movie,
Right.
from what I recall, which is great because that means anybody can die at any time, and you're not bringing any baggage with anything that they've done before. There's nobody that I recognize from anything else. The Groundhog Day conceit of basically the basic premise is this girl wakes up in this situation and she goes through her day at this college up to a point and she gets murdered, and then suddenly she wakes up and she keeps repeating the same day over and
But
over
she
again.
remembers it.
And she remembers what happened
Right.
before. So she's trying to basically keep going and trying to find out who killed her, but the idea being when she finds out who her murderer is, she can prevent it from happening and keep living. So it's very clever. I had a lot of fun saying, honestly, both of us reacted at the same time. We both knew who it was as soon as they showed the person the first time. But then after a while, I'm like, well, geez, this person has a really good reason to do it too. And then you take the journey with her of, well, now it can't be that person because we've eliminated them. It's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like, I did not expect there to be much in the way of comedy in this. So it starts off as pretty successfully suspenseful, I think, at the beginning, but ultimately it becomes mostly comedy. But still, when it gets close to the death, more often than not, it's executed, pardon the pun, very well. And it's shot really well. Like, it wasn't lame, shaky cam, and it wasn't a friggin' found footage movie. I really like this a lot. This and something else we're talking about gave me two horror comedies that made me very happy, which we were talking off air earlier. Some weeks we don't really like anything we see.
I'm feeling like a grump lately. So.
This is the first week I think I did to give it away. I think I liked everything I saw, except maybe the next one. Okay, so up next. We have a long-awaited, nobody thought we were ever going to get it, but you can call it a awaited sequel to the early 80s sci-fi classic, in retrospect, Blade Runner. This film entitled Blade Runner 2049. So it might be blasphemy. I've never been a big fan of the original Blade Runner. I mean, I've seen it a few times, and I've always thought it was decent, but it's a movie that I don't remember very well, and I don't know every story point of it. So coming to this, I was coming fairly fresh. The look is very similar to the original Blade Runner.
Unbelievably similar,
and
yeah.
it is after the fact, it continues the story in a way. But for me, it looked great, and the soundtrack was really cool, and everybody in it is pretty good. I felt like Harrison Ford wasn't really in it very much and didn't really have a lot to do. Like, it didn't have any impact on me that he was back in the film. And I didn't find the themes that it approached terribly fresh. I feel like I've seen that a bunch of times recently. So I thought it was fine, but when it was done, I felt like it was unnecessary. Like, it was like, a movie tie-in. It was like Splinter of the Mind's Eye. It was one of these things that's like, we're going to tell another story with those characters. And I'm like, and if you never did, nobody would have asked you to tell that story. Right. So I thought it was, I would say, see this on the biggest screen you can. I unfortunately didn't. But I thought it was fine, but I don't see it as something I'm probably going to want to see again.
I basically agree completely. I'm a huge fan of the original. Probably have seen it quite literally 30 or 40 times. I pretty much know every single frame of it. It's unquestionably in my top 10 personal favorite films of all time. So I was, and I went into this knowing that Ford had read the script and said it was the greatest script he'd ever read. Everybody's reviewing it, saying it's the greatest thing. So I went in trying to temper it, saying, okay, don't expect too much, don't expect too much.
It is smart sci-fi, which is
it's
great
smart sci-fi.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was, I thought it was mild rehash of the original. If I'm looking at what the stakes are, and for either our characters or in the original, and I think you have to compare it to the original. I think that's only fair. As a standalone film, it's perfectly good. The original, I thought, had larger things to say about humanity. If you're big fans of the original, you'll know that the replicants, they have like a limited lifespan, and so they want to live. They're the people in this dystopian future who cherish life, unlike humans. So there's a big comment about society and about us and how we should live our lives that this is missing. This is very focused on Harrison Ford's character. Ryan Gosling's character finds something out that happened ages ago in the original movie, and so he has to seek that out, and that's what drives the whole thing. And I'm really just kind of not driven by it. When we finally find out what the big secret is, it's kind of like, really? I've seen that in about 20 other movies. So yeah, I was disappointed in this. I thought it looked just beautiful. I was very happy that I saw it on a huge screen in IMAX. So basically everything you said, I'll double. If this were a standalone film, I'd give it a 7 or an 8. Really smart sci-fi, looking beautiful, but as a sequel to what I consider to be one of the greatest movies ever made, I was disappointed.
So it's more of a molehill.
Sort of like that, but he keeps working his way into that. He's referring to Idris Elba's new film, in which he and Kate Winslet are flying out on a plane. Unfortunately, Beau Bridges is their pilot, and you know what Beau's like anymore. They crash, and they have a problem. They have to band together and bond together to try to survive. And the thing they have to fight, if I was with them, what I'd be concerned about is the mountain between us. So
seems to do like Stallone in Cliffhanger, just punch your way back through that ice.
Right, you can. Yeah, good luck with Kate. So I love the two of them. I'm really growing to like Idris Elba. I had reservations because I was such a King fan with him being cast as the gunslinger, and he won me over in like the first 4 frames. So really, really like him. And this is much more his film. I was disappointed when you have an actress with the chops that Winslet has. And she basically, we see that she breaks her leg. And even though she keeps trying to push Idris Elba, Elba wants to sit around and wait to be saved. And she says you have to go out and get help. And so she's constantly pushing him. But basically all she does is say, we need to go. She has nothing to do. It's really his film until we get to, this film actually lasts for about 10, 15 minutes longer than I'd expected. If they get saved or not, whatever that ending is, it then continues a little bit. So I thought that was interesting, and she has much more to do at that point. But overall, this is a performance-driven film. With the two of them, they're both very strong. So if you like either one of them, or certainly if you like both of them, which I did, it's worth watching. I was disappointed at what we might call the action or the real plot of the whole thing was kind of trite. But overall, the two performances, they're really good. I think this would be a real good one to watch, kind of cozy it up at home, especially on a nice, chilly evening.
Speaking of cozy.
Yes.
Next up, we have a tale. It's for the whole family. A young woman, a collegiate-type lass, is assaulted in an improper way on the campus and decides, after accidentally snuffing the bum out, to maybe just continue with that trend in a little film we like to call M.F.A.
Water, please. So I get water.
Ooh, how edgy.
So, I like a revenge movie.
Okay.
Because for me, revenge movies give you the brutal, swift justice real life doesn't give you. Not that I encourage vigilantism, because that doesn't really work out in the end. But in the movies, it's like Bronson in Death Wish or anything like that.
Yeah, this was a female
Death Wish. You get to see somebody taking out scum.
Right.
So basically, as I said earlier, the idea is that she is assaulted on campus, she accidentally kills the guy who did it, and then she finds out from other people who are slowly coming forward that it happened to them too, and she starts taking out the rapists in the way they did what they did to the girls.
Right.
So if they, slipped a Mickey to somebody, she does the same thing. So they're getting their own medicine.
But the ultimately clever part, I say this mockingly because I wasn't crazy about this movie, was that she's the struggling artist, and so all of these things start finding their way and inspiring her to brilliant art.
It almost reminded me of Color Me Blood Red or Bucket of Blood in a way, although she wasn't using entrails or anything. So I like revenge movies. I liked this because
okay.
I sick as it is, I got off on seeing these dirtbags get what was coming to them.
Everybody gets what's coming to them, that's for sure.
They do in a big way. So I enjoyed it. This is a limited theatrical release and on demand now. So as we speak, I think you can dial this up in the service of your choice and watch it. But I liked it.
It was okay. I thought our lead actress was not very strong. Overall, I thought performances were pretty weak in this. It was shot well, just kind of predictable. Some of the motivating events, particularly the first one that helps her break out of her shell, I saw coming a mile away, and didn't believe that even if it had occurred, the end results would have been the result. So there's just a lot of, I'm forced to buy a lot of things from this storyline that I didn't quite get. Probably being too harsh on it, because just as we were talking earlier about, with Blade Runner as a sci-fi film, as just a regular revenge flick, it's perfectly good. I think I was just being overly picky on it, but MFA, not one of my favorites, to tell you the truth.
What would you say that your experience was very...
It was sort of hard to see in many respects.
Was it hard to see?
I
couldn't find one.
Got to stop him.
I don't want to use the words in the title.
That's right. Anyway, you're going to have, you got friends in high school, and you kind of buddy together, but it can be unfortunate if you and your friend are really, really close, and something bad happens to somebody else. You got to kind of band together, because these are going to be super dark times.
Snack bar, where we offer a wide variety of good things to eat and drink to top off your evening.
Yeah.
So very strange. This started in an exceptionally weird way that I still have not quite put together, and I asked you about it, and you'd forgotten about it. But this is eventually, I think you can gather that, a story about these two really good friends who meet up with a couple of other two. So you got these four guys running around, and one of them dies through a complete accident. It's unintentional, but you made a funny comment that it is all drug related. This is ultimately a don't do drugs.
I thought about that. I'm like, is this an anti-drug message? Because everything that happens bad to anybody is because they said yes.
Right, exactly.
No.
But so the person kind of responsible, accidentally responsible for the death, takes it really, really seriously and goes kind of off on the deep end. And lots of other weird things start happening. I thought the two male leads were unbelievably terrific. I keep focusing for some reason on performances lately, but I thought the two of them were great. The young female lead was real good. I say that because don't know their names. I don't think anybody would recognize.
Which for me is better, because you're not bringing anything. I
buy it, but I'm going to learn their names because I want to keep an eye on these folks. I thought they were really, really good. It was beautifully shot. Some wonderful, and as a cinematographer, I'm looking at this, very, very subtle camera moves, very slow moves and stuff. Somebody's taken a lot of time, and I think this is the director. So I got to find out who directed it too. I ended up really liking, as you can probably tell, Super Dark Times. It had a Donnie Darko feel in many respects at times. Sort of grim. If anything, I was a little disappointed at the culmination of all of the action. I didn't think it was worth the time I sat through it. But this film has a lot going for it.
It's reminiscent of other things, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes me think of other better movies, but this was good. It reminded me of River's Edge in a way, and Donnie Darko in a way, and it really nailed the youth aspect of it,
sure
much
did.
in the way it did. The relationships between the kids felt very real, and these kids just bumming around kind of aimlessly, and this bad thing happens, and then it's, oh God, what do we do? Are our lives ruined? Are we going to cover this up and hope nobody notices? And then it's this constant level of fear and paranoia and guilt that's all playing on these kids, and this one kid who's gone crazy, and what's going to happen with him. So I thought it was very effective. It's the sense of dread that kind of floats throughout the movie with the slow motion that kind of helps. So it's not necessarily a pleasant film. It's not a comedy by any stretch.
Yeah, again, another one, can we say we liked it? I can't say I liked it.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, I'm just going to jump right into the next one.
Go to it.
Jump right in while giving the computer plenty of time to load the next clip. Here we have a new film. This has already premiered on Netflix, so if you have Netflix, it's on now. If you don't have Netflix, find somebody who has Netflix, because I think this is a good one. We have the newest film from McG, who is best known for directing the Charlie's Angels films a decade or two ago. Here we have the tale of a young boy who has a crush and more on she, who looks over him while his parents are away, And he finds out there's a little bit more than meets the eye when he stays up past his bedtime and sees what's going on with the babysitter.
And we're back.
Okay, I loved this.
Okay.
I
didn't get a chance to see it.
I enjoyed some people poo-poo them. I really enjoyed the Charlie's Angels movies.
Yeah.
McG knows how to shoot lovely ladies. Photograph. He knows how to use pretty colors. He knows how to use retro soundtrack. I love the way it's shot. The movie zips right along. It's really silly and funny. There are the occasional like full screen, on-screen titles to punctuate something. It's really doesn't take itself seriously at all. And it is so much fun. It is extremely gory at times. This is a great movie to watch with a group of people. Like a lot of times you get together with friends and nobody wants to really pay attention to a movie and you can't focus on anything serious. This is the perfect film to play for at a party or with a group of people. I had a blast with The Babysitter. There's only one or two people that anybody would probably recognize that are in this. So again, the no-name cast for the most part works in its favor. I think for me the most recognizable, Bella Thorne is in it, who's fairly well known now, and Ken Marino, who to me goes back to The State, but he's been in a million things. And I think Leslie Bibb is his wife. So a few people you'd recognize, but not a lot. The main kid is great, very likable as this nerdy kid who has a crush on his babysitter, and they have a really great relationship until he finds out why she's so nice to him. This is one I might actually buy one day if and when it hits video, because I really had a great time with it.
Good.
It restored my faith in horror comedies, and then I saw after that Happy Death Day, which I also liked a lot too.
Yes, it's a good time at the theaters. And that's it for What's at the Theaters. We encourage you to go out there. I thank Darren and everybody at the Latches Cinemas in Brattleboro, where you can see many of these. I would say. Then moving on to, from The Babysitter. If you're the babysitter and you need to get someplace, you don't want to take one of your little kids along because this guy got sucked into being the transportation advisor for a bunch of mafiosos led by Kevin Spacey, who are trying to pull off a pretty tricky heist. When you really need to get going, you better call Baby Driver.
I think that we should get together and try them all to see.
So one on which we get to disagree.
Yay!
I thought
that never happens.
This is extremely violent, lots of language. I don't recall any nudity, but rated a hard
That
R.
would be untoward.
That would be too much. But hard R for everything else like this. This is about this kid who has, I don't know if they necessarily explained it, but he's got tinnitus, he's ringing in his ears, so he's always listening to really loud music. So a great excuse to have musical soundtracks and everything for us to play along with. My understanding was that these are all actual car chases. They're actually driving them. It's not CG. Just sort of a fun thing was my understanding is that they actually played the music for the actors, so they're driving and they're hearing all of this, which makes it kind of fun. It's very cheesy, I think, in many respects, to address some of the issues that you're going to have, which I completely understand. I thought this was loads of fun. Once you realize how unbelievably over the top it is, and some of the performances and some of the situations these characters are in, it's about a guy and a girl who want to escape, and the mafia is after them, and everybody's going to try to stop them, and it's just no holds barred. I thought Baby Driver, for all of the violence that it was loads of fun.
I was really looking forward to this because I love car movies and I love action movies, and nobody gives me those properly anymore. And Edgar Wright was talking about how he loves the 70s car chase movies, and it was all going to be practical effects and not cartoon cars like Fast and Furious is half the time. And then the first car chase happens and it's way overcut. And I'm like, oh. And then the second car chase happens and it's way overcut and the camera is not in the right place. And I'm like, okay, so what else do we have other than the action, which apparently is not going to work for me in this movie? And I thought it was borderline laughably cheesy at times, and I don't know that was intentional or not. I mean, I like Edgar Wright stuff overall, but this one, I was really bummed because some of the stuff with John Hamm is just cheesy. Like, it's trying to be badass and it's cheesy, and the stuff at the end with the final Duel of the Titans is ridiculous. And the stuff with Jamie Foxx, I didn't always find him to be the badass he's supposed to be. I found him closer to his character from the Horrible Bosses movies in terms of how much I took him seriously. The stuff with the choreography to music was interesting because you have entire sequences where everything somebody does is in time with music. And that was, I'm like, wow, this is like a musical, which some people have called this. But overall, I'm like the only person I know who didn't like this. It just did not work for me.
Okay.
I'm going to go watch, Vanishing Point again and be happy, or
And just play some loud music.
And just play some loud music. Speaking of films I haven't seen, let's give it a shot, shall we? Here is the latest film featuring Will Ferrell, in which something happens, and he, through ways that only a fool who stumbles into success could have happen, finds success with gambling and or their home in the house.
Bringing together their different ideas of suburban architecture, these visionaries gave shape to imagination.
So I like Will Ferrell. I'm not fond of Amy Poehler. Is that how you say her name? I don't know.
I like her overall. I'm the opposite.
Okay, that's right, because you don't like Will
We
Ferrell.
disagreed again.
Once again. So this is a silly, kind of trying to appeal to the middle-aged folks whose kids are going off to college, and because that's what happened is their kid gets accepted to a really expensive college. They lose their money through various means, and they have to try to get a whole bunch of money. Have to try to get like $250,000, and so they make up a house in their neighborhood to be a casino, and just all hell breaks loose. And it's an opportunity for Poehler and Farrell to be silly and goofy, and it's lightweight humor. But for some reason, it hit me at the right time. And again, even though I'm not crazy about her, she was kind of funny. So I guess this is kind of a what you see is what you get. If you like either one of them, they're both in it quite a bit. And I thought the house was perfectly acceptable for what it was.
So at least they did not resort to tropical island buccaneerism.
Nothing like that. But one of the things is there's a lot of stuff that was going on inside that place. And usually you'll say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But one of the important things is, even though nobody really kind of bought the farm in this one, the important thing there was that, Pirates of the Caribbean, dead men tell no tales.
Enjoy a rollicking adventure with the boldest crew of swashbucklers ever to terrify the Spanish Main.
So I love Depp. I've always enjoyed these. I'm getting real tired of them. This one seems to really stretch it. Actually, with the exception of Jack Sparrow, few of the characters from the previous films that we know are in this very much at all. This is all about really the kids of a couple of our, I guess I can say favorite, but a couple of the previous characters. And I was just struck with this feeling like we're trying to take the Pirates of the Caribbean stories and movies and making them for a younger crowd. Let's bring in new, younger people and turn it all over to them.
They were always for kids.
Right. So I guess it must mean then that Will and everybody else are getting too old, I guess.
It's this ridiculous perception that has been had a foothold since at least the 80s or 90s in Hollywood that kids won't watch anything unless there are kids in it.
Right.
Which is a load of crap. Everything I loved growing up was entirely adults. It was entirely like middle-aged adults. I mean, there's a generation of people who absolutely, for some reason, love the Golden Girls, and they watched it when they were little kids.
Right.
So that busts that notion. I'm just going to stop talking. Sorry, go ahead.
But that's basically what it was.
Yeah.
This felt like trying to reboot this thing with younger and more nubile kids, and then you'll stick Jack Sparrow in it a couple of times because everybody expects Johnny Depp to be there. He's feeling tired to me. I love the actor and I love the character, but I'm about ready for Pirates to sail off to the horizon.
Would you have preferred this film if it was based on a literary source?
Most likely. Did you have something in mind?
Oh, should I give this a shot?
I believe it's your turn.
Okay, I'm totally going to BS this one. Just going to give it enough time for the computer to load it. So here we have a tender, dramatic tale of a woman seeking the truth through writings that she had come into her possession from a relative and or stranger, in which the film draws from its title, The Book of Henry.
So much to be found in the most complete and most convenient bookstore.
So this was a strange one. It didn't get a lot of wide release. It was certainly around. It wasn't here locally. I went to see it in the theaters. I love Naomi Watts. I think she's terrific. The kid, I forget his name, is really good. So once again, we're talking about performances. But this is very much about that. This is he's a genius little kid, and so he's ostracized from all of his teachers and everything like that. And so he and his mom have developed this real close relationship. And he comes under the suspicion that a girl in his neighborhood is being abused and tortured and could well be killed. And so writes all of these notes, hence the Book of Henry, and has to convince his mom, and he and his mom go off and kind of, the rest of the movie is about trying to figure out if that's the case and trying to save the little girl. So I thought it was an interesting sort of, it gets a little bit into, and this is kind of hard to believe, but the show's social commentary about how we treat kids, either really special ed kids or the really bright ones and things like that. But this is really much more about a mother and son and growing up and kind of coming of age. Watts is wonderful. I like her a lot. So if you like her, I think you're going to enjoy the Book of Henry. I thought it was pretty good.
Speaking of enjoyment,
yes,
the segment of the show I always enjoy, especially when I have time to even discuss anything, is the Arrow Video Corner. So hey, we're back with the Arrow Video Corner. It's been a little while. Yay! Right in his Hyven Melnick. This week we have an early 80s, arguably a classic. You be the judge. I will be. I already have been. Stephen King adaptation starring Linda Hamilton and Peter Horton of A Tale of Rural Malevolence. Peter Horton.
What? Who? Sorry.
Smart guy over here.
Yeah.
Rural malevolence out amongst the stalks, stalking amongst the stalks, if you will, and you don't want to meet up with, as you drive across the country and have an automotive disaster, the children of the corn.
Better with a packet of Hidden Valley Original Ranch? Well, I'm all ears.
Stephen King.
And he's back.
So this is a film, Arrow has put this out, so let's get the facts out of the way.
Yes, okay.
It looks great. Voluminous extras. Because it's Arrow. They always do a fantastic job. There are a lot of extras that I think are ported over from earlier special editions on DVD, so you can toss the old copies, because once Arrow does it, forget the old copies. And then some new retrospectives. So you have like a nice long Linda Hamilton interview. You have an interview with the producer talking about the experience of putting this movie together for almost no money. You have 2 different audio commentaries with the cast. You have featured longish documentary about the making of it. There's a short film that was based on the same story that was produced before this was, that arguably to me might actually be better. It is loaded. It is like 3 pages worth of extras on the disc. So the movie itself, I remember this being out, and the kids at the time, I was 9 when this came out, kids were talking about it in hushed tones in the playground. So finally saw it, and I didn't think much of it. Saw it again, I still don't think much of it.
You're right.
Evil kids to me rarely work. They come off as cheesy. The evil kid who's like the evil child preacher, who's the evilest, is mega cheesy. The way he talks, and they use different words for everything, and I'm like, it's only been 3 years since you killed all the adults. You've developed your own language. Why don't you just talk normally? So the malevolent kids don't work for me. The special effects are kind of cheesy at most times. It has a good look at times, but otherwise, I just thought it didn't work to be a creepy movie to me. And more often than not, I thought it was cheesy and annoying. So I don't like Children of the Corn, but if you do like Children of the Corn, this is probably the last version you're going to want to buy, because it's really, they really went all out for this thing.
Fair enough. Well, as Arrow usually does.
So that is all. We made it through everything on the list except the things we crossed off, so we would make it to the end of this list. We will leave you now and be back next week with far fewer films to talk about and far more in-depth, if you want to call it reviews. Sometimes I feel like we're so rushed for time, it's little more than, I thought it was good, I thought it was bad. Okay, up next. Hopefully a little bit more depth next week. And when we talk about such things as Geostorm.
Geostorm's going to be great fun. Come on.
I saw the trailer for Geostorm the other day, and it's the kind of trailer I hate, where it's, here's the basic premise, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then they do this, and then they get out of it by
so
I'm like, what is left?
Everything? Right, yeah.
To me, this looks...
That's certainly possible.
Bad. But we'll see. I'm Mark.
I'm Tom.
And we are
the Cinemaniacs.